This is my family. I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. Now, this is me as a baby. The woman that you see holding me, that's my mom. Most infants cry continually, but I preferred sleeping instead. We grew up in northern Indiana, just outside of Fort Wayne. My parents were aspiring to be homemakers then and envisioned the rewards and challenges of living off the land. We had goats, chickens, and a few pigs. We lived a quarter of a mile from the nearest local road in an 8-sided, partially underground house that my dad designed. When friends came over to play, we would pretend the house was a spaceship that crash-landed in the middle of a cornfield. Now, after 9 years of rural life, we moved to Indianapolis. My siblings and I are all grown up now, and most of us have families of our own. But in 1999, my parents, Tom and Jean Gaunt, had made a decision that would affect the rest of our lives.
Live from the heart of central Indiana, you're watching WTHR, Channel 13, Indianapolis.
Each week, our Thursday's child reporter, Kim Hood, introduces you to children searching for adoption. Tonight, she brings you a Christmas story.
When Tom and Jean Gaunt moved into this rambling old Victorian house, they knew it was meant for something special. Maybe a bed and breakfast. Aside from the renovations, the furthest thing from their thoughts was the thundering of 18 little feet.
I'm Stephanie, and this is my little sister, Kimberly. This is Ashley. This is Christopher.
They came upon 9 young brothers and sisters who needed a family. Greene County caseworker Sherry Slover believed in the miracle all along.
A family, and it was a little scary whether or not we would have someone that was willing to take on a commitment of a lifetime commitment of 9 more children.
And along came the Gaunts.
And along came the Gaunts.
What did you think about Mom and Dad when they told you they were going to do that?
I was in shock.
In shock?
My first thought was, are you crazy?
I thought they were completely out of their mind, that they shouldn't do this, that they've raised their family, and now they deserve to be empty nesters and enjoy their life.
I knew they could do it, but I thought they were nuts.
Oh yeah, sure, okay. Because I didn't think it was a realistic thing.
And I don't know if there was a collective sound at all in the congregation, but I know folks thought they must have been crazy.
You must have big hearts. These are all
You must have a big house.
These are all things that we've heard.
Not only did they look physically like they could be our children, but they look like a group of kids that would have a very difficult time staying together. And because we do have a large empty nest, that we had the ability, as well as the experience, to handle this group of children. And I somehow knew that if this was meant to be, and that wasn't our decision, it was just our responsibility to make ourselves available, that it would happen.
I was soaking in the tub, just not a care in the world, and Jean walks in, having read the Sunday morning paper, and says, "I've got something I want you to look at and read and think about, but I don't want you to say anything until you've had time to think about it." And with that, she handed me an article out of the newspaper, Sunday's Child, which profiled the 9 children. That's how it started.
The purpose of the article is to let other people know about the neat things about these kids, the challenges about these children. I planned it very carefully that it would run on Mother's Day, because I thought if any day of the year it would pull at heartstrings, it would be on Mother's Day. I'd never had 9 brothers and sisters in one Sunday's Child before, and I thought this is really special.
The idea of adoption wasn't exactly new to Mom and Dad.
I happened to have a father that had been adopted, so I think that had a great deal to do with what my future life was going to be like, because I felt a sense of duty to repay to society the benefits that I had as a child.
Growing up in our family, Mom and Dad were foster parents since I was actually I think since the time I was born through the time that I graduated high school. So it was very normal in my life to have foster kids at all times.
Their first experience as foster parents started in the mid-70s with the placement of Vinny, a young African-American child that needed a temporary home. Later, my younger brother Jason became a part of our family through foster care. He had been through 10 different placements in the span of a year before coming to live with us. 2 years after he and his brother were found abused and abandoned by their parents, Jason was adopted into our home. Shortly after, my sister Tracy came to live with us as a teenager in foster care.
I came to the Gaunt family when I was 16. I'd known the Gaunts through another foster child. When I had problems at home, I decided I wanted to go ahead and leave the household and wanted to go to the Gaunts. After I'd stayed with them for a little bit, had asked them if it would be okay for me to stay permanently as far as a place to go.
How did you come to be a part of this family?
Well, showed up when I was about 5 years old, and Mom adopted me.
Tell me, what was it like growing up in our family?
Well, I always had a big brother to pick on me every day, and plenty of sisters.
It wasn't that hard with this family, but that was one of the main thoughts is being at that age and having to basically start over again in a new relationship.
Of all the children that we've cared for over the years, I would have to say that the experience with you in our home has been, if not the most pleasurable, it's surely been one of the most rewarding. You know, there are kids that come that don't make it and don't thrive, but for every Tracy that we've had, it's made the whole experience of fostering worthwhile.
Tom and Jean had a lot of experience, of course, in dealing with children because they had been foster parents for a number of years. And foster parents accept children into their home with all kinds of needs and usually not knowing anything about the children before they first move in.
After a number of brief visits, the oldest 5 children came to live for a mandatory pre-adoption trial period. 1 month later, the youngest 4 arrived.
Where's all my little mugwumps at? There they are! Oh! Woo! You got it! Okay, let's put these things up here. Who wants to take your bath first? Me.
I'm not going to take a bath.
You're not going to take one? Oh, yes, you are.
I want to.
Okay, come on. Let's go. Aren't we beauty queens this morning? Come on in here, Kimmy. Kimberly, being the youngest, is unconditional love. She just throws her all into her hugs and her smiles. Christina, she is always a bright light on a dull day, and can take somebody and pull them off the floor and put them on the ceiling.
Color your whole ornament, okay? Cover all of it so you don't see any white, okay? Good job, Michael. That looks pretty.
Mike, physically it's his ears. He's a cute-looking young man, but he's full of enthusiasm.
There's a TV in there, right?
Mm-hmm. You see the TV?
Who put the TV in there?
The challenge is the next one. Scotty, are you prepared? Scotty. Stop it. We don't scream. You okay? Or do you want to go into timeout? No! Okay, then settle down. Settle down. Okay, you go downstairs so you can eat breakfast. Go on.
Scotty's probably the most remarkable of all the 9 children.
When we first read about Scotty, we really felt that probably nobody would take this family of 9, possibly because of all of Scotty's problems.
He's a sweetheart.
Is that his way of rebelling?
Yeah. See, he's already changed.
He's already...
It comes with the autism. The wires get crossed, the boundary that he has gets violated, but it gets better with each week. Now he's under the vacuum cleaner. What, Scotty?
I'm pushing vacuum cleaner on the...
Okay, where are you supposed to be going?
Scotty had a cerebral palsy, and he is autistic. His left side is weak. He came with 2 braces, one on his leg and one on his hand.
Now you look a lot like my mom when she was little.
That's what she always says.
Tell me what she said.
We were talking out here and on the porch at night. She said, do you know the very first thing that we wanted to adopt you? And I go, no. And she goes, well, the first thing is that we seen you. And I said, boy, Tom, that looks a lot like me.
There's no question about it that that's the face that stuck out for me.
When I saw her picture, I thought of myself at that age and thought, this is my little girl.
So Bob, can you tell me what you're doing?
I'll make some gingerbread cookies.
Robert he's got serious in him and he's got playfulness in him, and they're doing a tug-of-war.
Even though it was a survival technique that Bob had, he's fun to be around because he can be comedic.
I have a son, Tom's brother, named Herb, and he was ornery when he was little. And Bob is just like him, but he's a good kid.
Ashley is a free spirit, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with her yet. I mean, she's just kind of going.
I call Tom and Jean Mom and Dad because so I'll get used to it instead of calling them Tom and Jean all my life.
Do you feel like they're going to be around for a while?
Yeah. For a while they are.
Chris is very intelligent, and he'll tell you he is. All the children are intelligent and smart, gifted that way, but Chris appears to be extremely intelligent.
I'm supposed to put our pajamas in with our sheets and stuff too.
Right.
Okay.
Is that your kitty?
Yeah. He's scared of the traffic. He wanted to come with me.
So what's his name?
Precious.
Stephanie is very thorough with what she does. Tries too hard to be perfect, like Samantha. There's another one out there, Kyle. He was 10 in the family of 9. He was the oldest boy, just younger than Stephanie, and he died as a result of the abuse, getting away from the abuse. It was important to bring Kyle forward with the children and not be left behind. So we have 16 children. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter how they came, they're ours.
Just 3 months into the trial period for the adoption, and daily routines have become old hat. It's early morning, and Scotty's therapist arrives to work with him on the mobility of his weaker arm and leg.
Read me the numbers on this stopwatch.
The 5.
A 5.
See the pointer?
Yeah. I've been working with Scotty since January, so it's been 10 months. I'm an occupational therapist, so I am working on helping him be able to be as independent as he can in his activities, which are normal for his age group. Scotty has 2 problems that I'm working with. One is his autism and one is his hemiplegia on his left side. So he has trouble moving his left arm. First started working with him, he mostly screamed and didn't want to try anything.
me, I'm gonna hold your arms.
No. Meow.
And he also improved a lot when I started working with the vestibular activities, working on the ball. He started to calm down a lot more, and I understand from his mother that he's a lot more verbal than he used to be when he first came into the family.
He's come a long way. I mean, he's a smart kid. When I look back at the way he was nurtured, it's really painful for me because he could be so much farther ahead than he is today.
Considering all the adversity he had to overcome, which is far greater than probably the rest of the kids, Scotty is probably the one who has adapted the best.
Mom is back in action. Like Michael Jordan coming out of retirement, she's found her rhythm again and couldn't be more fun to watch. What's Mom's policy?
Mom's always right. And if Mom tells you to do it now.
Never argue with Mom.
Never argue with Mom. So it's my job to keep everybody moving and in harmony and flow. And so it generally works pretty good. Okay, everybody got your book bags on? Oh, let me see your stuff. We got to get your stuff out of there.
Oh, I gotta get mine.
Okay, zip it up. Zip it up. I'll hang these on the refrigerator.
I have dogs today. I have 3 dogs.
After Stephanie, Chris, Ashley, Bob, and Samantha eat breakfast, they go out and wait for their school buses. After Scotty's bus arrives, Mom and Jamie head out to drop the kids off at preschool. According to Mom and Jamie, this is happy hour. They get a short reprieve from all but 3 of the youngest.
I hate to save shopping to the last minute, especially with 9 kids. Chris really likes solar system, and this is like a preparation thing for SAT, and since we want all the kids to go to college, it sounds like a good little tool to be educational. So everything takes batteries is the only thing that really just kind of bums me out.
So is Chris really into science?
Oh, very much into science. In fact, I want to find a rock tumbler for him because he's so into it. And there, he's determined he's going to be a chemist. His only problem is telling me how I'm not as smart as he is and how much more he knows.
Things had gone so smoothly, it all seemed like a fairy tale in the making. However, I knew that if past events came to light, the future of this adoption could be in jeopardy.
Reveille sounds at 5:45 for the 9 Gaunt family children. Their parents, Tom and Jean, get an hour head start, and everyone starts off running. To go along with 4 of their own birth children, they have adopted a son and have cared for more than 100 foster children in 16 years. Most have been physically or mentally handicapped. The Gaunts would take in every homeless foster child if they could, but they would have to add 300 chairs at their dining table. After Jean gets her 9 children off to 9 different schools, she says her career day begins. Jean has opened a foster parents resource center to help new or troubled foster parents.
In 1987, while Oliver North was testifying before Congress during the Iran-Contra scandal, my mom was across the hall testifying on behalf of parents. On weekdays, while we were in school, she spent her free time at the Indiana State Capitol, advocating for bills that would free up educational, parenting, and child care resources. Not long after, a neighbor anonymously nominated my parents for the Institute of Noetic Sciences Award for Creative Altruism. My parents were chosen to receive the award and use the momentum in their advocacy work. Just when things seemed to be moving forward, our family was dealt a blow that most families are unable to recover from. A group of 6 caseworkers and state employees entered our house and removed all but one of the foster children. Allegations of neglect and 1 allegation of abuse were leveled against our home. The source of the allegations was anonymous, but it was clear to my parents this course of action was politically motivated.
Jean was advocating for what was in the best interest of children, not what was in the best interest of the system. She was looking for permanency for children. This is what she was all about.
I was invited to a weekend conference where all the heads of the state departments, welfare, health, mental health, were there, and we were to talk about how we could better serve emotionally disturbed children. And so I shared some of my ideas, listened to theirs on ways we could collaborate and pool pots of money to better serve these children. When I returned home the next day, they had begun an investigation in my home.
Up until that point, she was recognized within the county and the state as one of the innovative and hard-working leaders in child advocacy.
We knew they were coming out to do an inspection, that's not uncommon for the house, and talk with us. But when they came, they handed us a paper that said that we were closed. Our foster home was closed and they were there to pick the children up.
There were some accusations that were made about things in our home used by the system to unempower Jean in her work.
I was shocked. I really was. Because I knew I hadn't done anything to justify anything of this nature.
Merry Christmas!
Oh, good!
Benny, Abby, Jamie, and Jason, and Juliana, and Chuck, and Desmond.
I think the most part about feeling devastated was watching your children's lives fall apart. I mean, these children had found our home a sanctuary, and I felt it had been violated. You know, I saw Jason, who just physically shook that day. Physically shook. I mean, even the foster kids were more concerned about him than they were with what's happening to them at the same time. And, you know, I can tell Jason, you're safe, this is your home, but he had to witness that.
I was only 14 at the time, but as soon as I walked in the door, I knew our lives had changed. My parents stood helplessly opposite the team of caseworkers. My father frowning, my mother's eyes like wet glass. I made my way up the stairs toward my bedroom. I had almost reached the top of the stairs when my father's voice made it clear what was happening.
And I'll never forget my asking that if it was so imperative that they remove the foster children, that our birth children should also be accorded the same protections under the law that the foster children receive, and that they should remove our birth children as well. And the comment that was made back to me was, we did not say you were bad parents, just bad foster parents.
The kids that had to leave didn't want to leave. One climbed a tree and refused to come down.
I hugged my brothers and sisters, and I cried the rest of that day. I knew a great injustice had occurred, and that none of the superheroes in any of my comic books could save us or make things right.
Some of the kids that walked in on this, because it was just about the time that school was ending and the kids were coming home, they were total disbelief. Their world was falling apart and they couldn't understand any of it. As the parents were trying to make sense of it, as traumatic as it is for us, how we can help them. So we gathered them all together and kind of said a last group hug and prayer together. And the kids are begging me to please, can't they come back, as if they had done something wrong, and they'd call me.
We initiated a suit against the state of Indiana for what occurred in our home. It was eventually dismissed on a technicality.
So it seemed to me that, to the welfare system, our foster home was just a warehouse, now too risky to store their cargo in any longer. However, to my parents, this was a life's work for child advocacy, destroyed. But these were my brothers and sisters, and now they were gone.
The people that were really hurt were the children that were removed from our home that day.
What our family experienced pales in comparison to what these 9 children endured. After losing their birth father to a heart attack, they lived out of a car until being taken in by a local church. Their mother remarried quickly, gave birth to the youngest 3, and apparently that's when the abuse began.
It was a very abusive situation in the home. It culminated with the death of Kyle, the oldest boy, second oldest child.
Kyle, I think, was the hero of the family, and he paid the ultimate sacrifice.
He was the protector of the other kids. He would take the blame for anything that went wrong in the home. The events that led to Kyle's death, as the children related to us, is that the children were taken out to a shed in the back and for 15-20 minutes at a time by themselves with the stepfather, and he would beat them back there and who knows what else. They don't really talk about that part of it. They'll talk about the 80% of the abuse where they were all together, but none of the children will really speak to those periods of time that they were alone with the stepfather. Specifically with Kyle, according to the children, Kyle just couldn't take it anymore and ran away. And then it took a while, to find him.
I believe it was the welfare, when he didn't show up for school, insisted that the state police get involved.
He must have drowned that same day, but it took a week to find his body. And the body was found in the shallow water of the White River, just 100 yards or so from the home. And state police reports indicated that, stepfather was primary suspect.
Once the children were removed, the oldest 5 and the youngest 3 were placed in 2 different homes. The first 5 were placed with a minister and his family. The younger 3 then were placed with another family in a different part of the county.
Kyle could be alive today if somebody would have taken action sooner.
It had people maybe express some concerns up front, some neighbors, that maybe this could have been avoided.
Well, I'd like to welcome you all back for our 5th session. We'll have our 6th after our break here at lunchtime, and then we only have 1 more week left after this. Children's Bureau provides a service to the community in helping to find prospective adoptive parents for children that are in the system.
Tom's role here is that he plays a part of the resource parent. He provides the adoptive parent's perspective on adoption. I represent the agency, he represents the families.
Last week we talked about the process of attachment in human beings, you remember that? And we talked about the impact of separation and loss on children. The caseworkers worked with each of the 9 children, and each of the 9 children have their own life book. What I've brought with me is Sam's life book. It is filled with all kinds of information. Chapters of my life. My personality. Sam sees herself as nice, silly, good, likable. What she wants to be a teacher. She's happy when she's with her mom. But I'll feel really happy maybe when I get adopted. So I think Sam was about 7 years old when this was done. Then there's pictures in here, where she was born, who her parents were. Here's her dad. Happy time that I remember with my birth family is a birthday. I always liked it when Mom made dinner. I used to laugh when everybody tickled me. I remembered that I cried when I heard I was not going back to Mom. So they help the kids deal with the reality of what's coming. I get a little choked up over this. I'll let you read that. I can't right now. I get choked up when I go through the life book. And I don't see myself as a real sentimental guy, but that gets me.
Yeah, so I say I really haven't. I've hardly ever seen you cry.
Yeah.
Or you know, get choked up, and that kind of surprised me.
When it deals with my wife or my children.
Realistically, no one anticipates growing up in a household or in a town and then having to be uprooted and moved out and starting over again. And to do that as a 16-year-old is a little harsh.
What was the hardest thing at first?
Well, the main thing is I didn't even know them at first. I didn't even know who they were. Because another thing is our stepdad, I started to trust him. Then all of a sudden he started drinking and started beating on everyone and stuff like that. So that I was just waiting to see. I don't know why I was doing this, but I realized this now. But I thought that that Dad was going to act like Tom and do that. I don't know if it's because of his name, but I just didn't know whether he was going to start drinking and hitting on everyone or not.
With 9 more brothers and sisters, it's difficult to keep track of everybody. Somebody is bound to fade into the background quietly. I found this to be the case with Ashley. She doesn't appear to want the attention that the other kids seek. She is content to go about the business of being a kid and make the most of her new situation.
A, B, C. What about your name, Kimmy? K, I, M.
Of all the 9, she's the one that still is a private person and try to respect that. Though I admire her energy when she's working on her schoolwork.
I hate you. Come on, you have to practice. You have to practice. This is due the 23rd.
Well, this is A, right?
Okay, let's try that again.
With the older kids still at school, I thought I'd take a crack at interviewing Christina and Michael, 2 of the 3 youngest children in the family.
Hi, Tati. I'm sitting next to here.
So who are your best friends?
Mommy. And today we played. And we seen a light in the camera. And Grandma. We seen Grandma and Chucky. Okay, guys, I can't even see either. Chuck. How are you pushing me? Dun 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 dun. How you doing today, Chucky?
Yeah. I think I'll try this interview in another 5 years.
It was painful. I had to go to work every day because I had to bring home a paycheck. I couldn't sit at home and grieve over the loss of these children. It was a very difficult time for me. I could not be there to support my wife because what they did was they ripped from her not only the children that she loved and cared for, these foster children, but they also ripped from her ability to continue in the advocacy that she had worked in her adult life.
It was hurtful. At the same time, I would remind my husband, nobody can hurt you unless you allow them to hurt you. And so I continued as a director trying to help find services for emotionally disturbed children. I'd go to all these meetings and that where everybody knew what happened to you, and I would hold my head up high because I knew I had done nothing wrong.
She was now scarred by these accusations that were trumped up against her. Here's the problem. Even if you're not guilty, you're suspect. Well, maybe they did. It's embarrassing. You don't talk about it.
After continuing for another year or so, it was pretty hard. It was pretty hard. You know, I became very depressed.
I had to be strong for her. I had to be strong for the children, our birth children in the home, you, your brothers and sisters. And I didn't get the opportunity to grieve like Jean did.
A few years ago, I had decided to try for a job working with some people with disabilities. And so they had to do a check, and I cleared. I would have thought there would have been something on record, but I'd also passed another check on something. And I'm thinking, gee, how can this be, you know?
It was not publicized in the newspaper. Charges were not brought against us. We didn't go to court. We weren't arrested. It all basically disappeared and went away.
About 9 years passed, and I never thought I wanted to ever adopt or get close again. And so I see these 9 children in the paper, and it's sort of like this big picture comes into focus. And it's one that's the farthest one from my mind up to now. And I look at that and I think, these are my children. I'm supposed to take care of these children. So I rip it out, and my immediate response is, I'm not going to screen myself. If I'm supposed to be their parent, this will all work out. If I'm not meant to be their parent, that will happen, and I can live with that.
I had my own little engineering company. I was really feeling good about it. You know, 5 years old, we were beginning to make a little money. And, you know, it was an eye-opener for me. If we were going to adopt children, especially 9, was it fair for me to continue this kind of 80 to 100 hour a week occupation that maybe would continue to be successful, maybe not? So we made the decision to sell the business and me go out and get a job. And so that's what I did. Here we go.
Daddy,
Don't shut this.
Okay. Dang. Daddy, come on.
This morning, Stephanie is angry with Kimberly, her younger sister, because she thinks Kimberly lied to my parents about putting her shoes in the garbage. Behavior like this has become common with Stephanie. Kimberly is only 2 years old, and my parents feel that Stephanie is showing signs of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Stephanie, I'll take her.
No.
Well, you're on camera, and you're on microphone, so this is being recorded for posterity. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to take her.
You think I took her to the room in the chest because you're so dumb.
That's okay. You can think what you think.
I'm tired of being called lying in it because of you.
So at what point do we go across? Right now. We're seeing behaviors that really nobody has seen since they were removed from their birth home. I think it surprised county workers that they thought maybe these kids really didn't have a lot of baggage or many problems. And now we're finding that they really worked hard to try to be good and be perfect. And so their behaviors were much different when they first came than they are today.
If you don't want that one, I'll take that one. Okay. I enjoy just going to secondhand shops and taking a look and seeing what's there. And when you're a large family, you try to economize, and so I'm always keeping my eye open for bargains. Why dogs have wet noses, that's pretty good. House of Pain, I can identify with that one. For every negative thing you hear, you need to hear 3 positives. And sometimes as a parent, you know, I can go an entire day and not hear a positive at all. You know, I'd like to see the kids grow up and be able to
open up to people. I think it may be many years for some of those kids to open up and share openly about what they're doing now and what happened in the past.
I think Chris can really do good things. He really is smart. Stephanie has such a love and a passion for cats, you know, and animals that I think she really could become a veterinarian and do a very good job. You know, I think that you guys are the people to push them there.
There'll be times they're not going to like me being their mom.
And no, Abby doesn't like me when I say, no, you can't have a sucker, another sucker, because, you know, I don't want her eating too much sweets. But she'll understand that when she has all of her teeth, you know, when she's older.
Well, I know something that really sustains me on raising these 9 is my older 6 children, their appreciation, their understanding of what I went through with them.
I was scared. And you guys were upstairs sound asleep, for serious.
So how do you know they were trying to kill you if they weren't even in the room?
And they were sneaking up the steps really quietly. And me and Sam and Ashley kept on looking at the door, and Ashley staying on her bed looking out the, what's those things called up there? Trellises?
Transoms.
Yeah, whatever you want to call them. And she didn't see anyone, but we think there's ghosts in the house now.
Well, I go to the bathroom and I check around the house. So, and I'm usually up in the middle of the night at least once every night, so. And I've never once ran into any ghost.
You don't see ghosts. That's just...
Well, I don't hear them either.
That's because you're up and they're scared of you. Mm-hmm. They're not scared of kids.
They're not?
No, but seriously, I lived in a haunted house before, so I know what ghosts are.
I just have angels in my house, so perhaps you heard the flutter of angel wings. Could be.
Are you pretty sure you saw ghosts?
I didn't see ghosts, but no, I'm scared because there's people outside that will kill you. No, I'm scared.
A lot of people outside that'll help you, too.
I keep on hearing noises in the house and I'm scared.
Stephanie has a lot of anxieties. I think social anxiety, being around people, being away from home, being in new situations.
Stephanie, I'm going to ask you to keep the noise level down so that your sister can go to sleep. Now, if you want to go to sleep, pull your bed out and go ahead and lay down.
No, I'm not going to sleep, Johnny. Just as you guys are blaming me for drinking the water here.
Honey, nobody's blaming you.
Yes, you are.
No one's blaming you for breaking the hot water heater. Sometimes, Stephanie, sometimes things just break. They get old and they break. Now, Dad's downstairs trying to figure out what the problem is, but even if he can fix it, it will take a while for that water to heat up. So it'd be better if you took your bath in the morning, okay?
Us older kids, if we get mad at something, it's not, we shouldn't be getting mad like the little kids, so.
And you think you do sometimes?
Do what?
Get mad like the little kids?
No.
Have temper tantrums, or?
I don't know. I guess.
The worst thing that Stephanie fears is that she would be rejected or made to leave.
In the course of a day, she may be doing just fine. And then all of a sudden, I'll sense that she's building up inside. Sometimes it'll go up to a month before she'll have a hard time keeping it together. And then sometimes she'll do something once a week.
Stephanie worked, after she moved in, she worked for 3 months to be perfect, and finally got to the point where she couldn't be perfect any longer, and it blew. She would speak to me, but she would not talk, and completely ignored Jean.
In addition to her outbursts, Stephanie's post-traumatic stress disorder has triggered an eating disorder. She's receiving counseling, but at 5 feet and 90 pounds, she's in danger of being hospitalized.
You might want to just go ahead and go to bed for tonight, and then you can take a bath in the morning, okay?
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the light on. I'm gonna ask you to go to bed, okay? And I'm gonna take it just a little bit to probably warm up. And you can either take your bath in the morning or later this evening.
I've gotten so wrapped up in the making of this film that sometimes I find myself missing important moments of my own life. But my dad always seems to find ways to keep me involved in the family.
We have a birthday coming up here shortly. Anybody know who's today? So Chuck, I want you to give me that camera, son. This is where you're going to have to trust me, Chuck.
What is it? Is it
Okay, we got a blue t-shirt.
Superman.
Super Chucky! What would really be cool is if Brother Chuck would go put that on and show us. Well, I think we need to see you in full glory. I may think we need to see Chuck in full uniform.
We've been up here for about like 4 months, something like that, I don't know.
Up here? I don't think so.
Yeah, for serious, Samantha.
4 months. August.
Well, no, September, October, November, December. You don't.
October, November, December. 4 months.
Well, almost 4 months, because we're in December right now.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For us, this was not a trial period. Even though you have this time to get adjusted to one another, there was no going back.
We were moving forward, really hoping to finalize the adoption as a Christmas present. We were all excited, and the children were excited, and they had gotten comfortable in the home.
I'd wanted to find out how the kids were doing. A lot of times you write and you never know what happens if somebody liked the article or if any good came from it. And I was lucky this time because I found out about that the kids had been adopted into a home.
In December of 1999, Kathleen Shuckle wanted to write a follow-up article around Christmas time. The state encouraged the article because they knew it would be good publicity for special needs adoptions.
We interviewed for that article. They took pictures and figured it would be in the family section, and it turned out to be a front page article. We were a little nervous about all the publicity. Wasn't too concerned about anything coming out of the woodwork because really didn't believe there was anything in the woodwork to come out.
I was fearful of seeing history repeat itself. I remembered what my family was put through before and was afraid of it happening again.
That week after Christmas, we had taken the kids and my mom, and we had gone to Tennessee for vacation. Day after New Year's, we got a phone call from the caseworkers of the children wanting to have a meeting with us, that there was some information that had come to light that they needed to discuss with us. This whole file of information from back when the foster children were removed all of a sudden was there intact. It was an absolute roller coaster ride emotionally. We went from that high of seeing what we were doing as a family to rock bottom low first week of January when we've got to go over to the State Department to answer some questions, and we don't know going into that meeting whether or not we would be able to keep the children.
If the charges were serious from 10 years previously, why weren't they in the file? Why weren't all the people involved in investigating this family doing the investigating before the children ever came into that home?
And we tried to explain to them that we didn't really feel it was necessary to talk about it because in reality none of it was true, and it had been gone and had disappeared for years. They indicated to us that if they had known this information, we would not have even been considered for the children.
Immediately, a court date was called to evaluate the situation. The Casas, court-appointed special advocates for the 9 children, asked the court for a full investigation and the removal of the children from the home. Not wanting to disrupt the stability of the children, the judge granted the investigation but not the removal.
We had to listen to all the crud and crap that was being said about us and not being able to respond to it to the judge. And walking out of there not really believing that the kids would necessarily stay. Breathing a sigh of relief that they didn't remove them immediately.
I felt really bad. I felt like here I had tried to bring a family together, and here was something that really made the family life difficult for a time.
As a way of determining if the children would be in any danger, the court ordered a 6-month probationary period for the adoption and a full psychiatric evaluation of my parents. The children were also evaluated and interviewed to see if they had been mistreated since their arrival.
We were given all kinds of tests, 40 hours plus, where I spent, my wife spent, all the children spent days being analyzed. The most intensive therapeutic interrogation anybody could ever have gone through. And then having people constantly showing up on our doorsteps, all unannounced, trying to see how the children were doing without knowing that they were going to be visited. Our lives at that time were not ours.
I felt in my gut and my heart that this was a good family and that things were going to work out and that these children were meant to be there.
Well, here we are back in a similar situation where we know that at any minute they can show up at the door and take the children.
By this time, I'm not looking to change the system. I'm just looking to help 9 children.
Right.
Then put some on the water all gone.
It is all gone, isn't it?
All gone the water.
Yep.
Oh. Daddy, I'll hug you.
You just broke the microphone there, pal. Let's tuck in your shirt.
No,
I did it.
I'll take these for now. Oh, can you pick it up for me, Bob? If you don't pick it up, you must not want it.
Well, you're taking them away from me.
No, I'm not taking them away. I'm putting them up until we get home. Because I don't want them at church, okay? Thank you.
If he doesn't like what we tell him, then he can throw a temper tantrum. Instead of acting 11, it really appears as if it's much younger, more like Michael's age, 4 or 5.
I have 2 friends, but they're like really different. All the kids up here are like way different than the country kids are. But most of our lives we lived in the country, and we went to country schools.
With Stephanie, of course, I've been able to talk with her.
It's kind of keeping everybody moving, a little bit like a symphony director, keeping everybody playing their instruments and hopefully on the same beat at the same time. It doesn't always happen. You just get as many as you can, you know, on target at the same time, and you feel pretty good about that.
They were seeing that the kids were doing well, and that was what was in the best interest here, was how the children were doing. We were on display. We were picked apart. But the one thing that it did for us was it created determination in Jean and myself that these kids deserved to have us as parents and that we really wanted them.
Under the surface, times are getting tougher for my family. Not only does their ability to officially adopt the children remain uncertain, but Chris's temper, a result of his bipolar disorder, begins to rip at the stable fabric of everyday family life.
It's really funny how you wouldn't let me play on the computer even when I had my schoolwork done, but you let Stephanie play on it.
She did have her schoolwork.
I had my schoolwork done, and you
asked
said...
you, and you could not give me an answer. And as soon as I left the room, you started kicking on the door and the furniture. I could hear that. I didn't need Stephanie to tell me that. And when Terry came, you used the F word and lots of foul language. You were very disrespectful. You would not settle down. I said I would remain there until Dad got home because I'd given you 2 chances, really more than 2 chances.
Isn't it sad that you listen to every little detail without even examining the evidence of this little old, I don't even know what.
This is a lady that I've lived with and have known for 35 years. I trust her with my life. I trust her.
No one else does. Maybe just because she's getting old, and maybe she's got some disease that she doesn't.
It's sad that she had to do that this evening.
No, it is not.
I believe
it's sad that she is a gay dumbass.
Chris,
that's what it is.
I thought there was a small conversation before I left when we were talking about what to do for Mother's Day, and I said,
man, Mother's Day is just a dumbass thing that they
remember what I said
all the time for people.
Do you remember what I said?
Really gay.
Chris, do you remember what I said?
To cooperate with her, and I'm not going to cooperate with her.
I said that Mom really likes people
who cooperate. You can't cooperate with someone who is going around looking for trouble.
And so it's almost like you went out to prove the opposite this evening.
Maybe
Instead
I did.
of looking for ways to
she's not a mother. She's a goddamn whore. That's the way I see her.
That's sad.
Well, then let it be sad.
It really is, Chris. And I really believe that you'll regret you said that, and probably as early as tomorrow.
No.
Because you have shown remorse.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
Why do you call it those names?
I don't know, because I get upset.
Does that affect you at all? Does it get to you after a while?
After a while, because I'm here 24/7.
Would that make you feel bad if somebody called you those names?
Yeah. Well, it depends on who it is. My friends, probably, if they call me that, then I'd have to do something about that.
I think Chris sees women as not being as valued as men. And I think because Dad is the breadwinner and I'm the homemaker, he will often tell me I'm not intelligent. He's a lot more intelligent than I am.
When you're within the abuse and the neglect that was going on and you've never seen anything differently, that's normal. But once you get away from that and you see how other people live and you live with a family that treats you like normal children should be treated, then they get upset and the rage comes and begins to boil out. And I want you to take a look at the situation.
Okay, I've got a horse sitting there. I've got someone who's brainwashed and his mind is really clouded. Yeah, I've got a situation.
We need to try to focus in on how to calm down.
Why don't we do nothing? Why don't we do that?
Settle down.
No.
Why don't you go on up to bed this evening? And we'll talk about it tomorrow.
What would you tell people, prospective parents who are planning to adopt, about situations like this?
A lot of people don't adopt, probably, these teenage years. A lot of kids, they may get maybe under the age of 12, but eventually they're going to go through some teenage years. And it would be nice if there was bonding ahead of time. Chris comes in unbonded, so he has no sense of loyalty or respect. He doesn't really want to attach. Even a good kid of your own will rebel and do a lot of these kind of things.
They've got to get it out of their system so that they can heal. And it took 6-7 years to get to the point where they got bad enough that they were removed. It's probably going to take 6 or 7 years to get them back to where they need to be.
I told him tonight my commitment was to him, it was to God, it was to his birth mother, it was to the welfare, and I was going to honor my commitment whether he liked it or not.
They're
probably isn't a week that goes by that I don't wonder why we did what we did. On the way back to the house tonight, I thought that very thought. We shouldn't have done this. But then there's probably 100 times in a week when I know why we did it and glad that we did do it. Don't you have those thoughts?
Definitely not as much. Because I'm around them a lot more. I can look at a lot of them and think, I know exactly why I'm doing this.
You know, you got to question why you did what you did from time to time. Not necessarily weekly.
Do you ever question being an engineer?
Yeah. Yeah, there have been times. There have been times when I question why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, I haven't questioned what I have been doing for the last several years at all. I'm doing just what I want to do. I feel very sure of that.
And watch, Chuck. This is gonna be tight. Now this is gonna be cool. Whoa!
Way to hit!
You haven't given me a kiss today. Did you give me a kiss?
Beginning this summer, we're taking Scotty to baseball. The whole family goes and we watch him and cheer him on.
There we go. I'm so glad to see you today.
Because I don't want Scotty just to be on the sideline all the time.
Hey, Squirrely. Come on.
See what I mean?
Catch.
He already does nothing.
Catch. There's the ball, Scotty. There went the ball.
Okay, everybody follow Jenny to home plate. Come on. Remember, you got to tag every base, right?
I can do that.
You can do that? Okay, you got to tag every base and then come on back and tag home plate, all right? You ready, Scott? Ready? Get set. Go to first. Robbie. All right, Scotty. Keep going, Scott. Ready? Get set. Go to first. Oh, way to hit. All right. Way to hit. Good throw, Ethan. Good throw. Go!
First, run, hustle, hustle, hustle! Come on, Lindsay, come on! Make it fix to you. All right!
Did you like the puppy? Should we?
I didn't like the big puppy.
You didn't like the big puppy?
Yes,
The little puppy is going to get to be a big puppy.
Why?
Because they grow up, just like you're going to grow up and be big like Mommy. Oh boy.
Where's Mom?
Should we take Chuck to see the puppy? Huh? You want to take Chuck to see the puppy?
Yeah, over there. Yeah.
Okay. You want to give the camera a kiss?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You got a surprise for me. What is it?
We can't tell you. We can't tell you. Lucky surprise! Puppy. Dog! We got dog! Want to see him? No.
Wow, what is that?
It's Winston. He's a puppy man. He's a mastiff. Yep, he's a mastiff. He's gonna bite.
The older children haven't forgotten the abuse or where it all took place. After visiting a town near where they grew up, they ask Mom and Dad if they can drive by and see their old house. This is an unusual request, however it's been 3 years since the removal and now the house is up for sale and sits quiet and empty.
Yeah, everything's the same. That's the kitchen, and if you look in here, see where that pink room is? Oh. See where that pink room is?
What room is that?
That was the parlor.
You went to the hallway down here, and went to the door, and upstairs is where my bedroom is.
Do you have any good memories here with Kyle?
Some of his stories that he wrote were funny, and when other people thought they were stupid, I didn't.
Stephanie's afraid he's going to be forgotten, afraid that the other children don't really remember him. I think he was very much one of her buddies. Since they didn't do much with other people in the community, they were their own society within their family. I'm not sure these kids ever expressed their feelings, telling one another they loved each other. They were so busy trying to survive. I never let him know how much I cared about him.
He talked about reversing time. That wasn't something he was going to do. He was going to become a historian, and he was going to. He said he was going to try and figure out a way to reverse time, go back into time.
Do you ever wish you could do that?
No. I don't want to go back into time.
I mean, go back into time and change things.
No. I don't even want to go back into time, period.
It was a very tightly controlled home. The children were locked in their upstairs bedrooms at night. All the food in the home was locked away. They would go for periods of up to a week without food.
What do you remember about this house?
I got thrown across that table inside. If you look with your eyes, you can see the table, and it's still got a microwave in the stove.
Specifically, the thing that the father would do is line the children along the wall.
We had to keep our arms out like this whenever we got in trouble.
He'd make you face the wall for a minimum of 3 hours. If you dropped your arms, he'd come around on the back side and smack you in the back of the head with a broom handle.
I had to mow this whole yard by myself, and imagine that when you were between 10 and 13 and not hardly getting to eat anything and having to mow a big yard. And if we didn't get it all mowed perfectly right, there's just one piece of grass sticking it, we would get in trouble.
Guys, come on down. Well, what would happen if you got in trouble?
You get hit.
Well, right now we're heading out to Stephanie's job. She started a couple weeks ago, and she works at a veterinarian's office and works in the kennel, helps take care of the animals. She enjoys being around animals. We talked with the people there. They expressed an interest that they needed somebody. Stephanie fell right into it, which is just miraculous. So she's becoming a little bit more independent. She relates well with animals, so she's kind of on target too for a goal that she has. Looking back, has come such a distance.
FIV, which is like, you know how humans have HIV? H stands for human, F stands for feline. They have FIV, and I love it. I think these are like the only kittens left, because the gray ones left. I love these cats.
So how did you get this job, Steph?
Well, I took my cat here to get declawed, and they told Mom about the kennel job, and that's when Mom talked to me about it, and that's why I got it.
What's the best part about this job?
Being with the animals.
your hand. She's got a lightning bug in her hand. Show the camera. Show the camera.
I'm taking my sandals off.
You take your sandals off?
Yeah.
Can you show the camera how old are you? Yeah, you're 3.
Yeah.
You're a big girl, aren't you?
Yeah. So mommy, I'm a baby now. And I'm not a baby anymore.
Even though I felt they were made to jump through unnecessary hoops, my parents would finally have their day in court. Soon the CASAs, the Greene County Welfare Department, and the judge would have to look at all the facts and decide if in fact my parents were fit to adopt these children.
We get to the courtroom, the tension was severe. We didn't sleep well. We didn't even know whether we were going to be able to keep them.
You know, I don't see myself as wanting to make the big difference that I wanted to make before and help everyone's children. I just want to help these 9 children.
Mr. Hawkins, who represents Mr. and Mrs. Gaunt, is here. So are Mr. and Mrs. Gaunt, and so are all of the young people.
Mr. Gaunt, will you state your name for the record, please?
Thomas Charles Gaunt.
And are you employed?
Yes, sir.
And you are petitioning to adopt these children, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Mrs. Gaunt, would you state your name as well, please?
Jean May Gaunt.
Okay. And you are a co-petitioner in this case?
Yes, I am.
And you reside with Mr. Gaunt?
Yes, I do.
As part of your petition to adopt the children, you understand that that would give you the rights as a parent and responsibilities of a parent to provide and care for the children, and it is your intention for that to be?
Yes.
That's correct. I understand that.
Okay. Do you have some comments that you wish to make about one of the children's former siblings who is represented in a photograph here today?
Part of the family is Kyle, and Kyle's not with us today. He is passed on. We'd like to ceremoniously bring Kyle forward in our hearts as a child that is part of the children yet today in memory.
I do appreciate you very much, Miss. I think that's entirely appropriate. Since Miss Bisbee is here. Thank you. And you, and also the director of the CASA program is here. Miss Bisbee, do you think I should grant this petition? Absolutely. And you are...
No doubt
how you feel about it?
No doubt in my mind that the children are in the best place they can be.
And do you feel that this is
Absolutely, yes.
Both of you have seen the children over a period of time, and you've noted significant changes in their life.
Yes.
I am confident that you are now in very safe environments, a loving family, and I am going to grant you adoption. And I am going to sign a stack of orders here that I will have to sign to my left arm almost that will give all of you with the stroke of a pen very different names.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, Dad. Yes. Have any thoughts?
Took everything I had to get here.
You happy today?
Yeah. It was very, very sentimental. By that time, I had begun to love the children and realize what God and you were doing. I got over my fear that I had originally.
We walked out of the courtroom. It was just like we'd had our day in court. We had won. If there was really any concern on a judge's part about the welfare of the children in our home, she would not have allowed the adoption to move forward, and she did. Ashley, you need some flowers yet, and Kimmy needs some flowers.
I need some.
Ashley.
Well,
and Kimmy.
Oh, Kimmy, right here.
And I have written a letter to Kyle. Mom and I have, I should say. Though our paths have not touched, and your smile has never warmed our day, you have touched our lives through your brothers and sisters, and our lives have been changed forever. We have come to know you through them. You were and always will be an important part of their lives. You are a part of our lives now in spirit, and we are privileged to call you our son. Though you were only here 12 years, you helped change the lives of your family, and you have changed our lives forever. Happy 16th birthday, Kyle. Rest peacefully, son. Dad and Mom.
Dear Kyle, the Lord loves you so much, He sent His only Son. And though have died, I still think you're a wonderful brother. Love, Samantha.
I like to just open the Bible and stick my finger on a passage, and more times than not, it's very relevant. Do you want to just try that and see what happens?
Lord, you know everything I want. My cries are not hidden from you. My heart pounds and my strength is gone. I am lost, I am losing my sight. Because of my wounds, my friends and neighbors leave me alone. My relatives stay far away. Some people set traps to kill me. I am like a person who does not hear. I have no answer to give. I trust you, Lord. Lord, don't leave me. My God, don't go away. Quickly, come and help me.
Know today that I do not speak with your children who have not known and who have not seen the chastening of the Lord your God, His greatness in His mighty hand and His outstretched arm.
Death came creeping, life was took right in front of our eyes. Death and eternal sleeping left us to say our goodbyes. Sometimes I think of you, remembering our commonalities. I think of how you kept me happy and how you kept yourself happy. Then I think, death came creeping, life was took right in front of our eyes. Death and eternal sleeping left us to say our goodbyes. How are you, I wonder? I hope you're feeling happy. How you look, I ponder. Then I think, death came creeping, life was took right in front of our eyes. Death and eternal sleeping left us to say our goodbyes.
We feel His laughter. And we thank you that He has brought us as a family together. We ask that you be with us as we continue to remember Kyle's good times and what he gave all of us. Amen. One of the things the kids have always said is if it hadn't been for Kyle, they would have never gotten out. And Kyle always said he would get them out somehow. And the somehow was his death.
Welcome back to downtown Indianapolis in our special Passing the Torch. We are following the Olympic flame as it makes its way down here to Monument Circle, where it will end in a celebration.
Who can forget the photograph of Jesse Owens winning in front of Adolf Hitler? Of women joining the games and showing the world what great athletes they are. The games have always been a showcase of people who worked hard, pushed themselves, and overcame challenges. We must continue to limit the fire within us, to do what is right and good for not only Indiana's future, but for everyone around the world.
That was awesome, Steve. That is so awesome. That was so awesome. Oh, I'm so proud of you. That was wonderful.
About that, Mom?
Yeah, you did. You're doing wonderful.
You did wonderful.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Mom. We did it.
Give me a hug, Mom.
You're amazing. I love you.
It's my mom right here. This is my mom.
I feel like I don't know them that much anymore because all of them growing up so much in the past, couple months. I'm missing out on pieces of their life. But I think from being adopted, for me, I have no doubts that if I was to live with my biological parents or something, or being even foster care, most of my family most siblings would get locked up in the future because it's the fact that what my stepfather did, most likely I'd do that to my kids when I grow up, like beat them or do stuff like that. And but when we got adopted, that changed everything. So now I've got better parents. My younger siblings, they'll especially benefit more from that because when they were pulled out of home so young, and they've got a better chance than I've ever had. Overall, I think I'll be a better person because I got adopted.
I love you, Chris.
Yeah, love you, buddy.
I think that the adoption has given them a future, One of the things these kids never did was talk about their future. And now they talk about being a veterinarian, being a police officer, going to college, things that are 5 and 10 years down the road.
No place is perfect, and they already know that. But I think they're learning to trust and realize that Tom and Jean aren't going anywhere. That even if they mess up, Tom and Jean aren't going anywhere. I think they feel like they're surrounded with a set of folk that are going to be there for them and that aren't going to betray them.
If you can just take one child and make a happy child out of that child, it's worth it. But your mom and dad have taken 9 children.
We've all come a long way, but our journey isn't over. Stephanie, Chris, and the rest of my new brothers and sisters will continue to have ups and downs, but now they have a family that cares for them and a place they can call home. So I guess this is my new family. It's a lot bigger than it used to be, but that's just fine with me.
Hey there, JC. I've been praying awfully hard lately. Do you think you could cut a good old boy some slack? Hey there, JC. I've been seeing
Scotty, you like playing with the camera?
A circle, that's circle. Be nice to your friend.
Scotty, what are you doing, buddy? Scotty?
Rub my
You don't have to take this job.
Oh!
You okay?
So you know what I did yesterday?
What?
I did a front flip on the swing.
No way. You like the buttons? You like the buttons? Scott, don't touch that.
Peace, dude. Peace. Peace, Chuck. Peace, Chuck, dude.
How old are you, sir?
49.
We'll keep that a secret within this room. What is your age, please?
49.
Keep this record equally secret.